This is the fifth part of my guided reading series. I have been covering so far all the different parts you have to do to prep for the lesson. Getting the kit ready, getting activities ready, getting books picked out. Now we're moving on to the actual lesson. The kids aren't reading yet in my video today. Instead, this is them preparing to read. This is the first part of the guided reading lesson. There are four basic parts to the pre-reading part of the lesson. 1, picture walk. 2, sight word practice. 3, phonics practice. 4, the focus point. So first, the picture walk. I would start with the cover, mention the title, and what will be in it. So to demonstrate, I might say to my students, today we're going to read this book. It's called Little and Big. In it, you're going to see some different things that are little and some things that are big. Can you look at the cover and tell me which one of these is little? And then probably have them point at the little chick there. And then which one is big? And point at the duck. Maybe point out that they may have seen themselves grow from being little to big. And then ask them to connect to the story. Say, have you ever seen in real life something go from little to big? Or maybe just different things that are little and different things that are big. Have them connect to the story in some way before you begin. Once you've finished going through the book and discussing the vocabulary, the next step is sight word practice. First, you'll want to prep them. This is a good time to use that highlighting tape or the wiki sticks that was mentioned in my first guided reading video. If you remember, back when we did the video on preparing the sight words, you actually wrote down the sight words that you're going to be doing in this story. In this case, little, see, big, and two. These are the words that repeat in the story a lot, if you can recall. So you're going to use this list now when doing the lesson. So for my example, I might say to my students, now in this story, little and big, there's going to be these 4 words we're going to see a lot. So I would like you to go on a word hunt. I would like everyone to find the word little in the story somewhere. And I'd hold up the flashcard that had the word little on it. You do want them to be able to use that as a reference or guide. And then they would flip through, and you'd hope that all of them would find it somewhere in the story. And if they need help, you help them. And then you say, okay, I'm going to give you a little bit of the highlighting tape. And you're just going to highlight the word little in your stories. And then repeat that with all the other 3 words that was mentioned, see, big, and two, so that they see the words throughout the whole book. So I went ahead and did it throughout the whole book. And just remember that they only need to highlight each word one time. They don't have to do it all throughout the book. Then after the word hunt, as I used to call it, you do the activity that you prepared based on the sight word video. In my case, I said to do bingo. I'm not going to do a real big demonstration on it because I do feel like it's something that most people watching this video should be able to do. But just reminder that I used to do blackout just so that every single word was said through the game. And my prize usually is just a sticker because I did work with little younger kids who loved stickers. Your prize could be something different at home if you'd like it to be. Now you want to practice the phonics. Again, you'll want to prep them before you actually begin the activity and then book later. I use the language of trapping word parts. You'll also want to do the activity that you prepared, in my case using magnet letters. I'm going to show it kind of doing both interchangeably. And just as a quick reminder, we prepared this already. This is the phonics concepts that we're going to be covering this week, which is CVC. If you watch my phonics video, I'll explain more of what CVC stands for and the words we're looking for in this story are bug, cat, dog, and kid. Okay, to demonstrate, what I might say to my students is, in this story, Little and Big, we're going to see lots of words that follow that pattern we've talked about, C, B, C, consonant, vowel, consonant. So to begin, I would like you guys to go trap a word for me. This word is going to be the word bug. Can you please find the word bug and trap it? And what that would look like, if I get this right at this angle, is I'd want them to put a finger in front of the word and at the end of the word, in this case. If I was doing, for example, maybe O-O as the sound that I was working on, I would say trap the O-O. Instead, trap the sound. In this case, since we're doing a whole word, it'd be trapping this. Finger before it, finger after it. This is a skill that I would have practiced with the students many times before this demonstration. So I'd say, okay, there it is. There's the word bug. Okay, I'm going to give you some magnet letters. You're going to now make the word bug. So right in front of them, they would take the letters and say B, U, G. Okay, let's break it apart. Let's see, what sounds do we hear in this? Bug. Very good, and let's blend it together. Bug. Okay, now we're going to change something. Let's say I take away the sound, and I'm going to put another sound there. Can you please put the letter that says t, t, t instead? So the student would then, hopefully, put the T in front, and then you'd also sound off this one. T, ugh, tug. Very good. Bug and tug, they rhyme, and they're in the same word family because they have the same ending. And then you'd take the letters away, do the same thing with another word. So we did, for example, the word cat. Okay, boys and girls, now we're going to do the same game, but we're going to find a different word. Trap the word cat. And again, they'd finger in front, finger after it, find that word, spell it using the magnet letters, change out the beginning sound to make a new word, like bat, and for example, and then repeat with all 4 words. So they're practicing sounding out, breaking apart the word, putting them together, blending, all those wonderful skills. I do want to say something that I think is important to understand when you're doing phonics. When you're doing B's, a lot of times we're tempted to go buh, 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 and make a really big sound afterwards. But when you're sounding out, one of the tricks that makes it easier on the student is to make that sound after much lighter. So you want to say something more like puh, 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 and let air out at the end of the sound. Because what can happen is if you're, for example, saying the word bat, if they have been practicing buh the whole time, they're going to be tempted to say but, and then it's harder for them to transfer it over to just bat. Another thing is if you do blends, you do want to make sure that you're using both the sounds. So in the example of trip, it's not tr, it's tra, or tur. A lot of times I'll hear tur as tr. It's tra, trip, it, trip, for example. Another tip I wanted to add in real quick before we go on is if you notice, I have lowercase magnet letters. I do recommend looking for these over uppercase. I do understand that these are hard to find. A lot of times uppercase letters you can find anywhere, Dollar Tree, Walmart, anywhere. But these ones you almost have to go to a specialty place a lot of times, or of course Amazon. But this does help a lot of students because especially those younger ones, the capital A and the lowercase a being the same sound, even though the symbols are different, is a hard connection to make for some students. And since most text is lowercase, including all these letters being used in the book for the words that we're doing, it does help to make the connection better. The last part I mentioned before was called the focus point. So what that means is a lot of times before the students actually began to read, I try to get them kind of thinking about what it is I want them to gain from the story. So, for example, I might say to children that I'm working with character development on, or author's purpose on, oh, let's think about why the characters are doing this as you read. Or think about why the author may have written the story as you're reading the story. So that when you get to the end and you're asking comprehension questions, they've known what to look for throughout the story. This can also be things like sight words. Make sure that you're looking at for those words we talked about. Look for the word to, it's in there a lot. Or it could be something like a grammar concept, or maybe the words a and being used throughout the story. Whatever it is that you kind of may think, oh, they're going to struggle with this possibly, or even I just really want them to make sure they're thinking about it. I usually kind of throw in a sentence that let them know what I wanted from them with that story. In my next video, I'm going to show you what it will look like when you have that small group or child with you and you're actually reading the book.